Ali, I am already splitting hairs calling these unboxing videos, but this categorically is not a box. I cannot believe Amazon are sending something that retails at 80 quid in what is basically a paper bag. Hopefully, Amazon are the ones who have let me down in this one, and not Marvel. This is Spider-Man 2019, the Omnibus. I thought it was going to be a Hulk one. This collects issues 1 to 46 of the series, and a few other relevant materials. I have actually read this. I read the 44 issues of Spider-Man 2019 when I was at university. The last 2 issues I never read because they are by Brett Kavanaugh and famously screw up many things and were a spite job. The rest is by David Peter. Let's remove this. That is what we have got underneath. And to prove I have read this before, I'm pretty sure this character is called Venture. And on the back, I think that is Spider-Man 2019 in one of the first issues. As I said, this is by David Peter, and he is a writer I have inconsistent opinions on. Sometimes I cannot tolerate him for a second, and other times he's good. It is a very fine line with David Peter for me, and he is a writer who wears out his welcome a lot. Maybe that I have managed to read his entire run here is speaking positively about his work on the title. Oh yeah, Spider-Man 2019 has this hologram that is like his girlfriend. I would have a relationship with a hologram. If someone watching is a science whiz and can sort me out with a January Jones hologram that is programmed to be my girlfriend, I would be thankful for that. Spider-Man 2019 is a series set in the far-off future year of 2019. And it is all cyberpunk and shit, and people say shock instead of fuck, and there is a Spider-Man. I don't remember much of this because I'm 33 now, and it has been a long time since I was at university reading this. But one thing that I do recall is that his origin is really good, and one of the highlights here, it has corporate intrigue, it has drug addiction, it has light body horror, and it has a costume that comes from the Day of the Dead festival. I knew it, the hologram is blatantly Monroe in this. I mean, that's full on the 7-year itch. When I saw that though, it threw me because it doesn't look like Marilyn Monroe. I prefer Grace Kelly, and I prefer January Jones as Grace Kelly in one atrocious Saturday Night Live sketch. The origin runs across the first 3 issues, and I do recommend those 3 easily. I think it is the strongest start to any of the 2019 books, except maybe Doom 2019. And that I remember this, the origin, the first 3 issues, above all else, doesn't bode well for the rest of the series. I will get to talk about the other 2019 books in a bit. There is eventually a pretty bad crossover, and I'll use that to explain the other 4 main ones. There's a cameo from one of them. Spider-Man 2019 is Michael Arrington, an undiverse man with absolutely no diverse blood in him whatsoever. And his Marilyn Monroe hologram has already moved on from looking like Marilyn Monroe. This is one of his love interests that are not a hologram. There is a cult, or a church, as they like to be called. that worships Thor. This will be the basis for the crossover. This guy here, this bad guy, Thanatos, he returns in David Peters' Captain Marbles. The real one, Genis Vell. That's not the only David Peter indulgence. We also have David Peters' new Universe character show up in this future and become a semi-regular fixture in the title. Right, so now we're getting to the crossover. This is set up for that, really. The crossover isn't very good. The idea is that we have these fake fairyland gods created by the evil corporations, and they are the bad guys. I am getting through this omnibus quite fast because I didn't have much to say, and I am dreading trying to find 3 related comics in my collection to review this week. So here is what is considered part 1 of the crossover, even though the issue previous was pretty relevant. You've got to turn this page on its side, which I fucking love doing. So the crossover begins here with Spider-Man 2019, which is helpful, I guess, if you are only reading Spider-Man 2019. It ends with the appearance of Punisher 2019. It was the 90s. Of course, there was a cyberpunk Punisher. I have talked about Punisher 2019 before. It is the most genius thing ever. It was written by some guys who worked on Judge Death, and it is an absolute parody. It's very obviously an outrageous parody of these sorts of characters. But what makes it my favourite thing ever is that people took it seriously. They read dialogue like, "Where do you live?" "On the edge." And they thought it was cool and badass. It is one of my favourite things in comics, that there are people, and there are people, you see it in the letters every month, there are people who were completely missing that Punisher 2019 was an over-the-top joke. It's not subtle about it, it's a satire, and it flew over their heads, and they write in wanting them to get bigger guns. Another 2019 title is Excellent Men 2019, and they are getting an omnibus soon too. I cannot remember if I pre-ordered it, so we will have to wait to see. But despite the creative team being John, Roger Moore and Ron Lee, I have struggled with Excellent Men 2019. I have read the first issue several times. There's no character I really care about there. I never get far when I try to read it. Although I did manage to get to about issue 14 last time, but that I didn't finish it speaks volumes. There wasn't anything that made me stop reading it. I just forgot and kept forgetting. Saving Excellent Men 2019 from being the worst, although it would be an admirable worst at least. There's nought wrong with Excellent Men 2019. I just can't get into it. But the worst 2019 book is undoubtedly Ravage. Ravage was unique, at least. It was a 2019 title that wasn't based on a pre-existing character, and that is where the positives stop. He was originally meant to be a reunion for Stanley Lee and Steve Ditman, a huge moment in comic book history where the creators of Spider-Man teamed once more. But Steve Ditman firmly hated the idea and wanted nothing to do with it. And then it became Stanley Lee and Jason Byrne, and that fell apart. And so it became Stanley Lee and Ryan Paul. But most people believe it to be ghost written by someone else, and Stanley Lee's name slapped on it to try and sell it or add some cred to it. Stanley Lee was done after 6 or 9 issues, and then Ravage went through about 5 different revamps. I'm not even wasting time telling you about Ravage. He goes from being an eco-warrior in the first issues to then transforming into a monster man. And it's all shit. But we have our crown jewel of the 2019 line, Mr. Doom. Doom 2019. Doom 2019 is also unique because this is actually Mr. Doom. Through time travel shenanigans, the real Mr. Doom has wound up in the future. And this is great because it is a new environment that allows him to be positioned as an actual anti-hero. All the evil corporations that rule America, all the injustices, and the Johnny Mnemonics. It allows Mr. Doom to be seen as more of a hero when he is morally right to dismantle and sabotage these greater evils. Doom 2019 is an amazing series, excusing the last issues. All the 2019 books had notorious final issues, and that will be covered when we get to them in this. But Doom 2019 is possibly my most wanted omnibus. With the crossover finished, now we have entered a very difficult territory because I have nothing at all to say. Nothing I remember until about 10 issues time when they introduce Venom 2019. One of the strengths of the 2019 line was that it was successfully ran by one editor, basically. He oversaw it all, and so all these little crossovers or shared continuities worked fantastically to build up this world. I am getting ahead of myself, but the reason the 2019 books all have bad final issues is because the editor was fired by Marvel, and the majority of long-term writers in the 2019 line, like David Peter, they all quit their books in protest. I have finally remembered to do the second edition of How Much Did I Save on This Product with Amazon's pre-order price guarantee. £25.76. Pretty damn good saving. There were other 2019 characters and books too, like Doctor Strange 2019. I don't think she really goes anywhere. There was also Hulk 2019, which only lasted 10 issues and was written by A, who is convicted. There was Ghost Driver 2019. Originally, there was never an Avengers. There was never a Captain America or an Iron Man or a real Thor. Oh, there was a Fantastic Force, and I like their costumes, but I never read it. They were introduced right at the end of the line. Flip side, I mainly know and remember not from these issues, but because this was a costume available on Spider-Man 2 Enter Electra for PlayStation. The other 2019 crossover is less of a crossover and more of a shake-up to the world. In Doom 2019, Mr. Doom conquers America. It is amazing. It is one of the best Mr. Doom stories ever. He goes to war with the American mega corporations and he wins. What I love about that story is that it is a fantastic inverse of Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again, as Daredevil suffer his greatest defeat and then rise above it and come out on top. And it is rightfully celebrated as one of the greatest comic stories ever published, because it is. Doom 2019 is the reverse of that, except for the bit about it being good. They are both great. Doom 2019 as the character accomplish his greatest victory and then meet his ultimate fall. Please give us a Doom 2019 omnibus, Marvel. And please include that one shot, the 2019 Apocalypse AD one shot, that you forgot to include in the one trade you did a decade ago. This trade. The Mr. Doom stuff isn't tremendously relevant, even in the issues he appears, but I wanted to talk about it because I love it. And anyway, we have Venom 2019. That would be a criticism of Spider-Man 2019. I don't like that they just do 2019 versions of classic Spider-Man bad guys. Venom, Birdman, Green Gobbler, Scorpion Man, I think they do him too. They do all them, but we don't get a Grizzly 2019. What is wrong with this world? One of the few things I remember is that Venom 2019 sucks. He's not very good. Bit of a try-hard bad guy. The final issues of this series, I've not read them. They are famously bad. They are written by Brett Kavanaugh, so obviously they're bad. David Peter hates them because they ignore his reveal of who Green Gobbler 2019 was, and they say that it was someone else. They also flood all of the world in them, I believe. But what I can talk about is the dreadful Doom 2019 final issues. In those, Mr. Doom, remember it is the real Mr. Doom, who time travelled to the future following his apparent demise in an issue of Tom Falcon's Fantastic Force. Mr. Doom travels to the past, and rather than reinstate him in the main Marvel universe as Mr. Doom, they now say it is a divergent Mr. Doom and not the real one, and he gets addicted to crab blood, which is apparently a hardcore drug in the 1995 canon Marvel timeline. He becomes dependent on it and foams at the mouth in need of crab blood. It is fucking horrific. I would be happy if these 2019 omnibuses, this one and a Doom 2019 one, if we ever get it, didn't bother with these final issues because they are both bad and destructive to what came before. I hate that Marvel would rather cater to anyone who would cry about a Spider-Man 2019 omnibus, not including these two issues. Anyone who wants to read this, and it's not just my opinion, these are widely and entirely considered to be piss poor, and even the writer of this omnibus hates them. These issues are the type of completionism for people who collect rather than read. Anyone who reads comics comes to accept that completionism is a thankless task because stuff like this is brutally painful. I was actually going to skip over the bonuses, but I'll show as much of them as I can. That image there is perfect for an Andy book profile. There is a lot of Marvel Age stuff, previews and things like that. I will highlight the Doom 2019 preview, more Marvel Age. That character there, that is Hulk 2019. I just honestly don't have that much to say about promotional material. If you love it, there's plenty in here. Some Fred Embeck there, always fun. Then we get some pin-ups and whatnot. There's a hologram looking out like Marilyn Monroe. Trading cards, posters, behind-the-scenes sketches, a selection of recoloured covers for trade paperbacks, and then the combined covers from the crossover, and there's some more combined covers. That was this omnibus, and I didn't hate any of you. We disagree on stuff, like the inclusion of those last 2 issues in here, but I know it is opinion and subjective. I might intensely disagree in a video, but I didn't hate people for having opinions different to my own. Maybe if they have a tremendously provable wrong and horrific opinion, maybe I hate them. Like if they swear by Jimothy Shooter's no gays at Marvel policy, yeah, I think I'm alright to hate them. I can't remember if there's any gays in this. If anyone can think of a single 2019 related issue I might have, let me know down below. I don't even have the Excels issues with Spider-Man 2019 in them. I can't think of anything I can review this week besides just doing David Peter issues of things. I will give this 27.7 thumbs up.